Okay, we're live.
At this time, I'd like to call the Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners meeting dated April 6, 2021 to order. And before we get into the prayer and before we get into the Pledge of Allegiance, for those that are wanting to meet virtually, you can do so by joining Zoom. And the login is www.zoom.us. Then press enter meeting ID 977-6119-6006 or dial either the numbers I've listed below here, 1-312-626-6799 or 1-646-558-8656. And again, enter meeting ID number 977-6119-6006, then press pound and again pound. Thank you. As we start our meeting, I'm going to ask at this time that we're led in prayer by Commissioner Joel Wyatt.
Lord God, we thank you for the opportunity to gather together for the purpose of governance here in Sand Lake County. We ask that you would forgive our sins against our fellow man and we'd be cleansed by your blood, Lord, and be able to efficiently spread the gospel in the manner in which we conduct our operation. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Commissioner. I will lead the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank everyone that has attended our meeting today, and I know there's some out in the hallway coming in later, but just want to thank you for coming and attending our meeting and representing the area that you have importance with. Next, Denise, you want to do a roll call, please?
District 1, Commissioner John Black.
Here.
District 3, Commissioner Bill Sarkella.
Here.
District 4, Commissioner Roger Ballard.
Here.
District 5, Commissioner Joel Wyatt.
Present.
And District 2 Chairman Gary Huberlin.
Here. Thank you, Denise. Next on our agenda is additions, corrections, and deletions of our agenda today. We do have one addition to our agenda, and that's going to be NFA 008-21. And that is in regards to an extension to the emergency paid leave, sick leave policy. And I'll be adding that as the last on our, after the FAs will be NFA. That'll be the last thing that we go through in our resolutions. So at this time, I'll ask for an approval for adoption of our agenda, adopted agenda. So move. Support. Adopt the agenda with the added additional motion that we're going to vote on today. Any further questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. We've adopted the agenda for today. I take it that everyone has reviewed the meeting minutes from March 16th. Is there any corrections that need to be made to those minutes? Okay, seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our March 16, 2021 meeting.
So moved. Support.
There's been a motion made and supported to accept and approve the minutes of March 16th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. Approval of minutes has been approved from March 16, 2021. Correspondence, petitions, and introductions. First, let me say that on your table in front of you is communications over the past few weeks. And if you want to take a look at it, if anyone has any questions, we can discuss that at this time. Okay. Seeing none, commissioners report. And let's see, we always start with Joel. Let's start with John this time. All right.
Oh, okay. So I've had some conversations with some of the supervisors in my district about, actually something we'll be talking about later in the meeting about this potential thing that we could do to help assist them with still using remote technology for their meetings for at least another month. And the people I talked with, they all said that they'd be interested in, and that would be helpful for them.
Mhm.
So I guess beyond that, as far as commissioner reports, that's all I have.
Okay. I'll go next, I guess, and we'll just go counterclockwise. First of all, we had our landfill meeting back on March 16th, and we elected to have the free tire day at the Sanilac County 4-H Fairgrounds. And that will be from 2 p.m. To 6 p.m. On that day. And if any of you'd like to help us, we'd appreciate your help at that time. Second of all, tomorrow night, and this is regards to the recycle committee and the new addition building that we want to put at the recycle location currently. We're having a meeting with the city of Sandusky tomorrow night, and to get approval to get an extension, what do we want to call it, Tara?
A variance approval?
Pardon me?
A variance?
A variance approval, thank you. The building is going to set closer to the property lines and the 50 foot that the city has put in place for everyone. But because due to the location, due to the size, and we are lacking a little space there to put a lot of big buildings, but we've approved the building and for Booms Construction out of Harbor Beach to build. And with that said, we need a little extra space there. So we're meeting with the city of Sandusky tomorrow night to see if we can obtain that variance. Last, the Personnel Committee, in their last meeting, they've included an elected official to serve on that committee. And just to kind of follow Commissioner Block's thoughts and feedback he's got, I've had constituents and different identity community, county identities in our county here that would like to see us move a few more weeks with a virtual meeting. So that's all I have in the report.
You want me to go next, Gary?
Yes, sure.
Now, Village of Port Sanilac, they have Zoom meetings still going on due to the fact that the Bark Shanty Community Center has some heating, cooling, and construction going on. So by us moving forward with that would help them as well. Everybody else has gone in person as best they can. Port Sanilac's also renewing their sheriff department contract and trying to establish some festival dates for their summer season under state directive, of course. And Lexington Township is working on prioritizing their bike path so they can update that between Croswell and Lexington, and also around where the new construction was, where the drain is at, over by Croswell. Board of Review, they were very interested in being able to offer Board of Review potentially virtually, because a lot of their property owners are not residents full-time, they're seasonal. So it would allow them, if they had questions, to be able to do it without having to drive up to Lexington. And then they're working through some of their cable hookup issues there as well. Village of Lexington approved at their meeting the tasting room permit. So the winery in Lexington will be reopening again. And they're having staffing issues with the police chief. They lost a couple people to other positions. And so he's having to pick up some time, if anybody knows the police chief there. And Lexington, which I did not know, is actually a Tree City USA and celebrates Arbor Day every year by planting a tree in the village. And they're working on their USDA easements to continue with the construction. And I know you probably heard that the DNR boat launch is going to be shut down for a while as they reconstruct all that. And I was able to attend Croswell last night. Their meeting's a little later, so I can get there after softball practice. Their new police chief is, I believe, starting today. They're upgrading their water billing system and working on the USDA wastewater system as well. That project's moving forward with USDA funds. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Sarkella.
Having been gone on vacation for a week, and then when we got back, I am now playing nurse to my wife,
Okay.
who has COVID. She's, we don't feel it came from our vacation spot. We kind of have a good idea where it came from. Really nothing to report other than in my talks with business owners around town in Marlette, they're having a tough time hiring people due to the COVID issue and the fact that the unemployment is still more than what they can make work. So that's a big concern for them. They're actually having to close some days that they would normally be open.
Anywhere you go in our county, out of the county.
It's everywhere.
Business help wanted signs everywhere.
Yep,
We do.
that's all I have.
Commissioner Wyatt.
Fremont Township had their normal monthly meeting moved up to March 25th at the same time as their yearly budget meeting. They had completed their board of review without a hitch. They expressed no concern about needing to meet remotely. They continue to meet in person, along with Speaker Township, and Worth Township presently is conducting in-person meetings. Worth Township residents have spoken out saying they'd like to meet or have the opportunity to address their board in person. Let's see here. Attended the Sanilac Community Mental Health Board meeting on March 30th. That was conducted in person and remotely. I think there were 8 board members participating at the conference room there. They had a recipient rights officer training where we learned a bit about what recipient rights means and how it's implemented there. It's a yearly required training. They did have an individual that spoke during public comments, and it was interesting considering what we're discussing today, that the impression I got from what she was saying was that she's had an inability to effectively communicate to the board over the previous months because of the Zoom meeting requirements. And as a result, feels that she has been deprived of her rights and the rights of those in her care. And so the face-to-face meeting that she had with the board was a method in which she seemed to indicate was much more effective in getting across her message. And she, from my conversation with her, she said that she was able to satisfactorily expect that they heard what she said and could look into the changes necessary. So that was a good example of how important it is for us to rapidly as possible go back to meeting in public and allowing the community to effectively express their concerns to the boards in a face-to-face manner. It doesn't serve a good purpose to do so remotely. And since we're talking about that, I think it's worth noting that as you indicated, the boards of review, you've got a lot of people that are out of town. There would be nothing wrong with having the opportunity for the public to participate remotely or in person should they choose. But of course, the boards themselves should be required to be in public as the Open Meeting Act talks about. And that would be something maybe we could consider moving forward, implementing in our own bylaws to allow such electronic participation on the part of the public. And then yesterday I went to Melvin, the city of, or rather the village of Melvin. They had their normal meeting in public as well. They are looking forward to the possibility of funding coming their way from the federal government. We're not sure exactly how that's going to be dispersed and from what funding source it'll be, whether it's directly from the county or it's passed through the county. I told them that I would let them know as we move forward.
Is that regards, Commissioner White, is that regards to small business they're looking for?
It's actually for, they were referring to the need regarding infrastructure, because we know that the federal funding coming our way to the counties, part of that can be utilized for infrastructure. But as we're discussing today, we're not sure exactly how that's getting sent through, whether it's a pass-through from the county, separate from the federal government itself, or what. Hopefully we'll find out in the upcoming weeks.
Well, we do have a representative from Lisa McLean's office coming in to talk to a few of us this week. And what's that?
It's good that we express, because the townships and the villages we're talking about,
Sure, yeah.
they have a high expectation that there'll be something coming.
Well, this COVID has had an adverse effect on every town, every community, every township, and Thank you, Commissioner Wyatt. Next on our agenda is the administrator report. Tara?
I can elaborate a little bit on what Commissioner Wyatt had mentioned with regard to the villages. We've sat on some conference calls. There's very limited information out right now. We're still waiting for guidance from the Department of Treasury. But it was noted that the villages were not included in the initial formula. So we don't know how they're going to receive their share, but it sounds like it's coming from whatever's slated for the county. So whether we'll need to disperse that or if the state will reallocate it, I'm assuming they'll reallocate it, but we're just kind of waiting for more information from the Department of
There's
Treasury.
several unknowns we don't know yet.
Yeah.
You know, we need some, Tara said we need some guidance. And
Yeah, but we have been working through planning for infrastructure needs, at least, within our county buildings for IT or capital improvements. I have had some good discussion with different officials to review their plans. Everything, I'd requested that they submit their plan by April 16th. I'd like to meet with the Buildings and Grounds Maintenance Committee to discuss those building needs. So we can formulate this into a plan that we bring to the Finance Committee. So we're still working on that. We haven't seen any of the funding yet. It sounds like it'll be within the next 30 days. So more to come on that, and hopefully we'll hear from the Department of Treasury pretty soon as well. And then just to mention too, Chairman Heberling, you mentioned the scrap tire event. You didn't mention the date though. It is Thursday, April 21st.
Oh, I'm
From
sorry.
2 to 6 p.m. So I just wrote that down to make a note in case anyone was. I did speak to Joanne Bai today. She will be distributing flyers. There'll be an ad in the newspaper. So we'll start getting the word out about that. That is at the fairgrounds.
And I believe the limit is each time they come through is 7.
Yeah,
Not to say they can't come back again with 7, but
yes.
yeah. So it
And,
gives everybody a fair chance to disperse of their tires.
and this event is funded through Eagle. So there are specifications that it can only be residential tires. So we can't accept tires from businesses.
Right.
We can, but that would be on the cost of, the recycling millage. So we're thankful though for that grant opportunity that we had that last year with COVID. We weren't able to do anything. They extended the grant deadline. So that was nice.
It's a great program.
Yes, yeah.
It's very
So this will be
beneficial.
one of two. There will be another one in September and I apologize. I don't have that date, but we'll communicate that as well.
Could you make sure the commissioners get a flyer email?
Sure. Yep. I will do that.
That'd be great.
Okay. And then just another quick update on our healthcare coverage. I know we've talked about it a little bit, how we're reviewing whether or not it's feasible for the county to go self-funded versus fully insured. So we had a conversation with Gibson actually a few times over the past weeks. We've been on the phone with Brian Bellware, who's our representative. So right now they're working on price comparisons. When you self-fund, there's several different contracts. It's not a one-stop shopping, so to speak. There's a different contract for your third-party administrator. You need a stop-loss insurance premium for those claims that are over 50,000. So there's a lot of moving pieces within becoming self-insured. So we're still running the numbers, still trying to determine if it is actually feasible. We do know, and I think I mentioned this before, that if we stay exactly the same, right now they're projecting that our increase would be about 3.5% to 6%, depending on the plan.
2.5 or 3.5?
3.5% to 6%. So what that looks like until we adopt the hard cap, see those numbers, and then calculate the insurance copays, we won't really know what that looks like. So depending on how aggressive we want to be towards reaching our goals, we're kind of at a crossroads where we can decide just how aggressive we want to be to reach those goals. We can implement a little piece now, maybe do more down the road, or we can just dive right into this and really make some changes that will help us reach our goals sooner. So we're going by the guidance from Brian at Gibson. And I did ask him, I said, once we get closer to having an idea of what direction is best for the county, can you attend a board meeting so we can have some discussion on it? And he's willing to do that. Of course, we'll communicate to employees as well. So just stay tuned for more information. I know it always seems like we're under the gun with the insurance information, but sometimes it's just the nature of the beast. So, and that is all I have.
Thank you, Administrator.
Thank you.
Appreciate your updates. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda this afternoon is public comments, and these are agenda items only. Is there any public comments on today's agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to an update by our state representative, Andrew Beeler. Is Andrew, timing's everything. Representative Andrew Beeler, it's great to have you here, and we feel honored, and we want to welcome you here.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the chance just to talk briefly. I'll apologize for my casual attire. I'm coming from Bay City. Part of what the caucus does to maintain a majority and really retain members is to knock doors throughout the cycle, not just when we're campaigning. And so I was part of a group up in Bay City knocking doors for one of our members up there. So thanks again for the chance to speak briefly. And kind of thinking about my comments, I tried to think about what would be the biggest value add to bring to this group. And I don't know that I could bring anything that you guys don't already know yourselves. So basically what I'd like to do is just talk a little bit about what we're working on in Lansing, what our priorities have been over the past 3 months, and what they're going to be looking forward. And then happy to take any questions about anything that we talked about or otherwise. So over the last 3 months, the biggest thing that we've been working on is first and foremost is a healthcare reform package, which just passed through the House right before we left for break. So that was a 15 bill package. It was a lot of different things, some good, some bad. All of it passed through the House. I did not vote yes on all of it, but a lot of it was targeted at transparency, which I think is something we can get behind. A lot of it was targeted at opening up scope of practice and things like that for CRNAs. Some of it was addressing problems with pharmaceutical benefit managers. So it ran the gamut of different things that can be covered in a healthcare package, and we touched on all of it again. Some good, some bad, and I think that it will change a lot when it goes to the Senate. So I'll hold off on too many specifics until we see what comes out of the Senate. But I do think that by and large, this bill package was a step in the right direction for patients. And it did truly have patient wellness at its core, whether that was through affordability or accessibility. I think that folks in the rural community like ours will notice a difference based on this bill package. So that I think is the biggest thing to walk away with. Second item is election reforms, I should say. Early on, we were able to work through 9 bills that had passed the House previously, but didn't make it through prior to the new term. And so those were repeat bills from the previous cycle. They addressed mostly cleaning up voter rolls, different measures that we could take in order to clean up the voter rolls. That was a big concern, was the accuracy of the QBF. And so we were taking measures to allow county clerks the autonomy to clean up those rolls on their own. I think those are all positive bills. I think that we'll see more election reform bills as we move forward. And then, as I say that, the Senate did just pass, I think 25 bills or some very large number of bills targeted at what we can do to clean up and make our elections more efficient here in Michigan. So I have not seen those bills yet, but they did just come over to the House last week, 2 weeks ago. And so it's top of mind for a lot of folks in Lansing on what we can do to make our system cleaner here in Michigan. You look at a state like Florida that had their election results buttoned up the next day. We'd like to, follow that model in a lot of ways and just become more efficient, become more transparent. That's the goal. The last thing I would touch on is budget supplementals and COVID relief funding. Early on, I think it was the second day actually of the new session, we were appropriating money, a mixture of state and federal money that had come in. And essentially the money was going into 3 different baskets. First was COVID relief. That was things like testing, obviously vaccine distribution. That was that first basket. Second basket was school funding. So that was paying for things like summer school, talking about teacher compensation for summer school, helping parents out. Also just providing funding to schools to have the necessary infrastructure to get kids back in the classroom, just the harder materials. And then the third was small businesses. That was property tax relief for afflicted businesses. That was fee forgiveness. So if you paid your liquor license fee, but you weren't able to sell liquor all year, you would get that fee, relief. So those were kind of the three baskets. Initially, when that bill package went through, like I said, early on in the session, it was certain elements of the bill were tied to a fourth bill that would essentially allow county health officials to make decisions on closing schools and canceling high school sports, rather than making them at the state level. When the governor signed those, she did sign the bills, but she vetoed just enough to eliminate that, what we call a tie bar. And so that element of this bill package did not pass. So effectively, the governor still had control at the state level to make decisions about schools. So we took the funding that was vetoed, put it into, well, the first thing we did was we tried to veto override. We weren't successful in doing that because you need greater than a simple majority, you need a super majority to override a veto. We weren't able to override the veto, but we did take the money that was vetoed and we put it into new bills and sent them back. So that was $150 million for the unemployment insurance agency. That $150 million was commensurate with the amount of money that the state was responsible for issuing in fraudulent payments. Okay, so it wasn't just a random number we chose out of the sky. It was $50 million in grants for parents. So parents of students who were going to have to attend summer school in order to get caught up, they could apply for a grant in this $50 million pot and pull money out of that to offset some of their additional costs. And there was just over $400 million in small business relief. Much of the same things that we talk about, property tax relief. Anything, if you could prove that you were affected by a government mandated shutdown, you can apply to receive some of this $400 million. We sent those back to the governor. They went through the Senate, of course, and right before we came home on break, those bills were vetoed again. So that was kind of the last nail in the appropriations coffin, I guess, so to speak. And that's where we stand. So there is still a large portion of money out there that's available, that the House has appropriated, that the Senate has appropriated, that is not being used right now. So I bring that story up just to kind of dispel the rumor that the House or the Senate is sitting on money that ought to be used elsewhere. We've appropriated it. It's ready to be used. It just needs to be signed into law by the governor, and she's vetoed it now twice. So that's been a little frustrating. Last thing I'll touch on is just some of the items that I'm working on personally. First is veteran employment. It's part one of what I think will be hopefully a package of bills focused on translating military experience into civilian experience. So for starters, we're taking teachers. So in the military, you could be a certified master trainer. Okay, so you have taken a course and been certified to teach other members of the military. We would like to take those requirements side-by-side comparison with a teacher certificate and see what boxes have you already checked during your time in the military to become a teacher in Michigan. Because I've been in those conversations with veterans who are leaving the service, who are trying to figure out where they're going to move. They look at taxes, they look at schools, and they look at employment opportunities. And so I think if we can make Michigan a state that is more attractive to veterans, they're leaving from California, let's say, they look at Michigan and say, well, I can be a teacher, in a few months if I move to Michigan, because they have this, sort of reciprocity program. So that was bill one of what I hope will translate into a number of different fields. I'm working on a second bill right now that has to do with property tax reform, I'll say. I don't know specifically what form it's going to take. I know it's a very complicated issue, particularly, here at the county level. But essentially, just different ways that we can do it that provide more parity, give people more ownership, encourage investment in property. So not just homesteading properties, but I understand that it's a complicated issue. It's just something that I feel strongly about. I know a lot of constituents feel strongly about property tax reform and what we can do to do it responsibly, but also, in a way that helps, voters, helps folks. And the last bill that I'm working on is it's a bill that I'm doing in conjunction with Right to Life of Michigan. Essentially, very simple. but when you do your state income tax, at the end, you can donate part or all of your return to a given charity. And this bill would add Right to Life of Michigan as one of those charities that you have the option to contribute to. So whether or not it gets signed into law, we could debate that for a while, but it's a bill that I feel strongly about. I think it's a good bill. I think it would be a good policy, but that's kind of the third one. So that's we've been working on what our focus is moving forward, and then just some of the things that I've been working on. Happy to take any questions if there's time for that.
Well, we'll be happy to give you some questions. And
Okay.
I just have a couple, actually three. This business relief, you said it got next bit.
Correct.
Okay, so there's nothing coming there for,
Correct.
okay. Election reform, so does that include that from now on, when the election's over, they'll be done at 8 o'clock, no more ballots come?
That would be the goal, right? And I think that when we talk about election reform, we're not talking about burning it down and building it back up. We're talking about some things that make sense to most people, like timeframes in which you can vote, and when your ballot has to be received, right? Some pretty, what I would think would be non-controversial items that most people would agree upon, with the goal of cleaning things up, making the process more efficient, more transparent, so that we don't have all of these questions raised because ballots are coming in late. You know, I think that's a great example of one issue that gets people fired up because it doesn't look good, right? The optics alone are bad. And so if we can clean that up statutorily, then, you know, I think that it increases people's faith in the process.
And then the last question I have, I believe it's line 6 across the Mackinac. So line 6? Line 5, yeah. Where are we at with that? Where's the?
The last update that I heard about that was that the permitting was done to build the tunnel, which is a step in the right direction. Of course, the tunnel is not the pipeline. The tunnel is what
Right.
put the pipeline in. So
We had a representative here a couple months ago telling it to a lot of things that go through it.
yeah,
Communications, yeah.
exactly, yeah. And so it's a positive step in the right direction, but it's not the slam dunk that we're hoping for to get it approved and to move forward with it. But issuing permits for the infrastructure necessary to put the pipeline in the tunnel, it's better than not having those permits
Right.
approved, right?
Right. Good. Anyone else have things for Andrew?
I have one, Roger Ballard, I'm District 4 Commissioner, Chairman of the Parks Board. We have 3 county parks that are on Lake Huron. And of course, there's all the other private properties along there. Do you see any help coming for erosion control along the lake shore?
Yeah, I do actually, and I've had some pretty interesting conversations with actually a bipartisan group of folks who have basically high water issues, right? In other areas of the state, it's not erosion, but it's maybe just flooding. And so we've had some pretty productive conversations on what that might be. I think that based on the conversations that I've had, the most effective way to do that is through the budget. It's not necessarily going to be a new bill. It's just making sure that the resources are budgeted when we write our budget for shoreline erosion, high water damage, things like that. I think that there's certainly a coalition of representatives in the House who are very keen on that topic. And so I don't see it being an issue. That is certainly going to be an issue that as we get closer to the budget process, at least to the part where I'm involved, having a conversation with folks here, understanding what level of resources are going to be required so that, you know, one, we're not overspending, but also we're providing enough money to actually solve the problem. But short answer to your question, yes, that's something that a lot of folks are thinking about, and I think we'll see it in the budget.
Good, thank you. Last year, we could measure our beach like this. But it is receding a little bit, I guess, so.
Yes.
So is it going to be, your involvement going to be along the lake shore where we had erosion and?
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, primarily, however, if there's again flooding, I mean, we see a lot of shoreline erosion, but as I mentioned, throughout the state, a lot of other folks are concerned about just high water levels in general, basements flooding, homes flooding, things like that. But
Understand.
here at home, you know, shoreline erosion is kind of front and center, but
Yeah.
then it's not only at least in my estimation, it shouldn't only be earmarked for shoreline erosion. It should be any sort of high
Sure.
water damage. Yeah,
Yeah, total project.
exactly, yep.
Commissioner Black, Commissioner Wyatt, any questions?
Thank you, Andrew, for your presentation.
Yes, appreciate the effort.
Okay.
Appreciate the effort you made to get here.
Yeah.
We know you have a busy schedule and
No.
got a couple of other ground.
No problem. I do like to brag to all of my fellow members that St. Lon County is the largest land mass in the lower peninsula. So maybe I should get more of a gas allotment.
Yeah,
It doesn't fly too well with the folks in the UP, who have 5 different
I'm
counties.
sure.
Wait till you start hoofing it, knocking on doors in Sand Lake County.
That's right. Yep. Okay.
Andrew, there's legislation about moving our positions from 2 to 4 years. Do you have any insight on that whatsoever? Chris?
Yeah, it was something that was brought up to me 2 weeks ago. I mean, recently. It's something that's certainly on the table and a lot of other folks are talking about it. Always interested to hear what other folks have to say. But in my head, that would be a good thing. But when I ran, I talked about not doing things until you talk to people who it affects. So maybe that's my question for all of you.
Yeah, well, just from our standpoint, we were contacted a couple months ago by one of our local newspapers, our thoughts on it, because that's one thing that Mac is pushing, correct? And I got feedback from most of it. I sent the feedback kind of short term, not short term, but in short,
Yeah.
back to the editor. And I guess there's good and bad about both. One thing that I think that we thought about, most of us, all of us here, on a 2-year term. But one thing we've seen in over the years, you campaign, you get elected as a commissioner. And the first 6 months, you're learning everything as quick as possible. At the middle of your term, you've got to start campaigning for the next term. And if you are not successful, get back in, we have a new one, the training starts all over. So from the standpoint of 4 years, it would be beneficial, I believe,
And I know you like getting out there to knock doors as much as anybody, but
Yeah.
maybe if you could do it every 4 years instead of every 2.
Yeah, sure. But, and there's pros and cons of both sides. I understand.
Exactly. Yep. Okay.
Okay, well, Andrew, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you
And
very much.
you're welcome here anytime.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Anytime. Thank you
Thanks.
very much.
Excellent.
Next on our agenda is, we'll be interviewing for 2 categories. One is the Health Board, or the second one is the Park and Recreation Board. And we'll start the interviews right now with the Health Board. And the first one in on the list is Kimberly Corey.
How are you?
Hi, Kimberly. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So you can go ahead and tell us who you are and all that good stuff.
All right.
Okay.
My name is Kim Corey. I reside in the Applegate area for the last 20 or so years. I currently own and operate Real Video Sandusky here in town. We're actually going on our 3rd year. We'll have a anniversary celebration here pretty soon. I spent half of my life as an environmental health and safety professional. I have certifications in stormwater management and certified occupational health and safety specialist, and I'm OSHA certified as well as REFRA certified. If you're not sure what that is, it's basically a hazardous toxic waste management certification. I'm interested in the board position because I feel that I can make a difference with my background in assisting the county with certain studies and things of that nature, especially as it relates to like the masks and things like that. I think that there should be more transparency. And I think that I really think I can make a difference and have a certain place for those individuals in our county and our community. And that's basically it.
Thank you. Any questions for Kim? Okay, thank you.
It was a nice letter you sent. Thank you.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, thank you. Okay, next is Mark Heberling, and I think I know him somehow, but welcome, Mark.
board members. My name is Robert Mark, but everybody knows me as Mark. I sent up a letter, and I believe that
Yep.
Jody gave it to all of you. My reason for being here is that I don't quite have Kim's credentials, but I have worked in the public for over 36 years. I've worked in industry my entire life. Also, and then in the barber shop I'm in my 36th year. And also last year, as it says in the letter, when it was shut down, I went into the meat industry as a meat cutter. I still work part-time at that occupation. My reason for wanting to be a member of this board is to also to help out this community. And I think in a lot of aspects, we've done a fairly good job. But in other manners, I think we've fumbled the ball on a lot of things. One thing that totally, as I told a couple people the other day, appalled me is that we live in the 21st century. And last year, when this outbreak happened, we were running around telling people to wash their hands. In my industry, that's mandatory. In fact, in every inventory I've been in, being clean is mandatory. And I can't believe that that's something that we have to worry about. We work on other aspects on this committee of things that highly overlook personal hygiene. I won't get into depth on that, but I think this committee needs a direction somewhat different than what I think it's gotten out of hand. I think it's become a legislative sledgehammer instead of a public health committee like it should be. And that is one of my greatest concerns and one of the reasons that I would like to be part of this.
Thank you. Any questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark, for participating.
Michelle? Michelle?
I don't know if she's on the line. That was.
Oh, that's right. She is. Are you, Michelle, are you online? I knew that. You told me that. I forgot about it, sorry. Okay. Next, Kurt McLaren. McFarland. Okay. Mr. Joe O'Meara.
Hi, this is Joe. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Joe. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for your time. I'm Joe O'Meara. I'm a resident of Sanilac Township. Long history in Sanilac County. I came from a large family with limited resources. Worked my way through college, got a few degrees, moved to New York, became in one of the largest accounting firms in the world. Serving. I had a great idea when I was at the manager level, and I knocked on the chairman's door, told them, hey, living in this area, you kind of get a sense of where manufacturing is going. And I saw it all start moving away. So I had a keen in those patterns, and being from this area, I read about American Motors, and they had set up a joint venture in Beijing, Beijing Jeep. And I got interested in that. And I told our chairman that trip is going to continue. And you got to send me over there to set up shop because all of our clients are going there. And he did that. I told him I spoke fluent Chinese, but when I landed in China, I found out that I wasn't quite as good at it as I thought. So, I spent a lot of time in different countries, and I've served on several boards, including Asia Society, where I served with the UN Secretary John Holbrooke. And I came back here to this area a few years ago. I've had property here for about 40 years. So anyway, the health board, I served on the health board for 2 years when I was commissioner, and I'm really keen on staying in contact with them. I like what they do. They're very goal oriented and data driven. They've done great jobs, with immunizations, especially some of the harder communities to reach. and the drug education, sanitation, and food quality. All these things are extremely important. I'm very keen on Sanilac County, and I think that we're sitting on a gold mine over here. Public health is very important in that equation, and I think that I'll add some fresh perspective there, and I look forward to serving on that board. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. O'Meara?
Nope.
Joe, thank you. And
Thank you
for your interest in the job, and thank you for coming on and being part of our meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is Kimberly Thompson. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you. I wish to thank you for allowing me to come in. My name is Kimberly Thompson. I'm a lifelong Sanilac County resident from Deckerville, Michigan. My father was a beef farmer and a crop farmer. My mother was a teacher at Carsonville. I was a teacher at Deckerville for better than 15 years. And I have taught both preschool and adult basic education at Sango Industries. And I feel that I would be good for this position because of my background as a teacher. I had to liaison with this between him and parents that I dealt with and the children. And being a preschool teacher, there were a lot of different county meetings I had to attend to. And I also have the unique perspective of having a granddaughter who is a nonverbal autistic child. So I do know some of the issues that people face in this county, whether it has to do with health-related issues or daycare-related issues. I do know what the problems are. And I feel that I would be a good fit for this board, as I could bring a unique perspective to it and help liaison between the people of the community and the board. And again, I do thank you for allowing me to come.
Thank you, Kimberly, and our condolence to the loss of your husband recently. Very sad about that. Okay. Any questions for Kimberly? Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here.
Next and last on interviews for the health board is Pam Willis. Pam, I believe you're on.
Hello, this is Pam Willis, and thank you for the opportunity and for taking the time today to give me this brief interview. I have lived and worked in Sanilac County for the last 40 years. Prior to moving here, I did serve in the Army. I have 2 adult daughters, and for the past 29 years, I've worked in the field of real estate. I have always worked in public service, and I've been fortunate to have been a member of the Board of Health for the last 11 or 12 years. I enjoy public service. I'm a really good communicator, and I think a pretty good listener, too. I would like to continue my service on the Board of Health. We've been through an awful lot of changes in the last dozen or so years, and with more changes to come, and especially with the state of emergency that we have all been dealing with, I think it's important to continue with the continuity. So I would appreciate the consideration of each and every one of you. And again, I appreciate your taking the time to listen to me today.
Any questions for Pam? Thank you very much, Pam. Appreciate your time and your effort. Yeah. Okay. Okay, moving on, I believe we're done with that interview for the health department. We'll move on to interviews for a park and recreation board. And our first person there on that list is Joe Allen.
He's on here. I had to mute him though because he was interfering, so he has
He's on
to,
here, you say?
yeah, he'll have to unmute himself.
Joe, you'll have to unmute. Joe Allen?
*6.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity here. And this works out well. Being able to communicate with the board and not have to be present. I am currently on the board for the Parks and Recreation, and I enjoy it immensely. And it's a good bunch of people, and I would like to stay on the board. So I have experience in camping and through all the years of my life, and Sanilac County has the best set of county parks, I think, in the state, as far as I'm concerned. And I'd like to see it grow, and I'd like to see I'm looking forward to some of the changes that we're talking about now. So I guess that's all I got to say.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Any questions for Joelle? Okay. Next is Patrick Penbridge. Patrick. Pat's better, right? Yes, Pat.
My name is Patrick Penbridge, seeking reappointment to the park board. I've been a member now, I believe 4, maybe 5 terms. I forget, it's been a while.
I don't know how long I've been on, Pat. I can't answer for you.
You're a lifer,
huh? We have got a phenomenal group. We work solidly together. For those of you that are familiar, that make your way through our parks, you can see the amount of improvements and the things that we have done over the last 10 years. Great things. For those of you who've not been to Fort Sanilac, to see the gazebo that we've kind of overseeing. I mean, not really totally our build, but just phenomenal things that have been coming out of our parks. A ton of improvements. We're knee deep in a couple of different projects that I want to make sure that I see to the end. So I'm truly interested in background. I've got 32 years worth of experience of building and grounds, which is one of the committees that I'm on, with Fraser Public Schools, which I retired from. In charge of my own budget there. Yeah, I think Roger does a phenomenal job with what we do, and want to continue to be a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
Next up, David Ellis. Welcome, David.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Dave Ellis, retired, lived over in Croswell for over 30 years, raised 4 boys, all from Croswell schools, been an avid hunter, fisher, camper my whole life. In the business for quite a few years, so I know about allocating money and competitive bidding and all those type of things. And would like to perform a public service by serving on your board to help make parks and recreation even better for us. Involved with my whole life. That's about it.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, David. No.
Thank you.
Michelle Hirschfield, is she? I'm not going to, okay. Chris Lopez.
Hello.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Chris Lopez. I'm a lifelong resident here at Sanilac County. I appreciate you guys to give me the opportunity to have a say on getting on the park board here. I've been a long time seasonal camper out at Evergreen and have been camping my entire life ever since I was a little kid. I have such passion actually for the RV industry. As you can see probably behind me, I actually work in the RV industry as well, selling campers as the general sales manager here at Marlette RV, and have a true passion for trying to get these parks to continue to grow. They've done a great job over the past quite a few years. When we first started out there, it was a different campground from what it is now. They've come a long way, and I'd love to have an opportunity to be part of that to continue to grow the parks system. So that's me.
Thank you so much, Chris. Okay, next up is Ellen Neves. Ellen?
Evening, people. I never crawled up in all my life. I just started camping like 3 years ago, and I've seen over the years, I feel like campground coming up, but I'd like to be a part of that. I've been for 30 years, I was living flight. I got some spare time now, but I'm not into a gold pioneer days like I used to be. But I still have my truck show if the pandemic leaves me. But other than that, I have spare time, but.
You must be retired now.
No, I'm not retired.
Not retired yet.
Couple more years, I'm not that old yet.
Yeah, well, the way you said that, I thought maybe you retired yet, more time.
No, I am
Yeah.
retired. So, that's all I am.
Good.
Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Last is Joe now.
Back again. Thanks for your time again. The Parks and Rec, in my opinion, can really be the catalyst for economic development and, overall quality of life. It can really determine or actually define, who we are. And I think we have to take a look at, are we fitting into our overall strategy of where we want the county and the thumb to be? Actually, I think that the first thing we should do is maybe impose some term limits here. 15 or 20 years on a board might be a little too long. It might be time for some fresh thinking to come in. I do philosophically, I support the parks, but I don't think government should be competing with the private sector. So I think we got to look at some of the things that we're doing and make sure that if we are going to compete with the private sector, that we take a close look at, how are we managing all this? And, are we really appealing to just a very narrow segment, or is that what we want to do? Or do we want to open it up to be a little more family oriented and make it more inclusive? So these are some tough things that I would like to look at. And, I've always found that the story comes from the data as opposed to just this, data, supporting a story or a narrative. I think that, we need some fresh ideas and fresh look. And I think that I would do a very good job in that regard. My family's been here for a very long time, and we have 100-year-old pictures of the parks. And as a little kid, I went to the parks all the time. That's where we had all of our family reunions, and I think it's gotten away from that a little bit, and it's not as inclusive as it used to be. That's my humble opinion, and thank you for considering me.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. Moving on to,
Would it be appropriate for us to thank everybody and then suggest that some people that don't get picked to continue to apply for these positions?
yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah. As we move on to, thank you, Commissioner Blau. As we move on to 13A, appointment to standing committees. First of all, in one group, there's one appointment, Parks and Recreation, there's two appointments, and Pension Board and Plan, there's two. What I want to say is several people have taken time out of their schedule to want to be involved with our community and our county. And unfortunately, there will only be 5 people picked for these 3 committees. So I want to thank, and I'll say it on behalf of the commissioners, we want to thank you for taking an interest in our county and continue to do so, if not elected today. And I appreciate, and again, I'll speak on behalf of the commissioners and our administrator. We appreciate you taking the time to want to serve and taking the time out of your busy schedule. We thank you very much for that. Before we go into a motion for the health board, I also want to say I've had the conversation with our administrator yesterday, and for obvious reasons, I'm going to abstain voting on the health board appointment. So there's no conflict, or anyone takes the thought that there's conflict between myself and one of the people on the board. So I think that's the right thing to do. And so at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the people applying for the health board.
I'll move to place all the names presented for the health board into nomination.
Support.
Okay, there's been a motion to list all of the people listed to the health board, and there's been a second. Any questions?
I have a discussion.
Okay.
You, Chairman Heberling, I agree. I'm grateful for those who were willing to put their name in the hat to be appointed to a position like this. And I would encourage them to continue doing so, to serve in a capacity at the local township board, planning commissions, you name it. There's plenty of opportunity in public service to serve, and that's the hallmark of public service is serving. And remember, you're serving your neighbors, your community, the people who you eat with, shop with, live with. It's important that we have people who are willing to serve at a detriment to their own fiscal gain, their own personal comfort, and are interested in making the world a little bit better. So I applaud those who would do so, and I urge you to continue on doing so as you move forward in your lives.
Thank you. Commissioner Black, did you want to add to that or?
Couldn't set it any better than Commissioner Wyatt did.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Could I add one thing? I'd like to say that any of these board meetings are public, and I would encourage anybody who's considering a board, wanting to get on one, to attend meetings and see how these boards function.
Yep.
And the inner workings of them. It could be very beneficial.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you all, commissioners, for your input. So we've approved these names and discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. All right. So this time we have the ballots in front of us for a 5-year term, one appointment to the health board.
We have one vote for Kurt McFarland, one for Kimberly Thompson, and 2 for Pam Willis.
Okay, thank you. So,
You need to vote again.
yeah, we have to have 3. Okay, all right. Do you want to throw that away from me?
All right, so this time we have 1 vote for Kurt McFarland and 3 votes for Pam Willis.
Okay, well, congratulations to Pam Willis for a 5-year term for the health board. Next on our agenda under 13A is Parks Recreation Committee. There's appointment of 2, and that's a 3-year term. I'll entertain a motion.
So move to place in nomination all the names presented to the Park and Recreation Committee.
Support.
Okay, there's been a motion made to enter all names listed for the Parks and Recreation Committee and been supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed.
Music there.
I don't think you should have left it on.
What's that?
Little voting music there, Jerry.
Oh, yeah. I like it.
I'm the election queen. I had to do an audit.
Came up with the same answer.
Yeah, we did. Okay, we have a three-way tie between Joe Allen, Pat Bainbridge, and Chris Lopez, all got 3 votes. And then Dave Ellis got 1 vote. So,
Well, how's that? We got to vote again. We take the top 2 then?
I mean, we
There's
got a
3.
three-way tie, so.
Give a three-way tie.
What's that?
Give a three-way.
Oh, 3-way tie.
Three-way, yeah.
Okay,
For 3 votes each.
okay. So we got to vote again. Okay. Who was the third person that was
It was
Joe?
Joe Allen, Pat Bainbridge, Chris Lopez, all got 3 votes. And David Ellis got 1 vote. That's what they call me.
Three, and 1. Am I right? We're missing a couple
No,
of. Okay.
3 is nothing.
Oh, I heard 3, and 1. Could you tell me those names again, please?
There was 3 votes for Joe Allen, 3 votes for Pat
Ah, I
Bainbridge.
missed the L. 3, and 1. Thank you.
Yep.
Where's the music when you need it?
We didn't get
Should have
that
some
mu-
Jeopardy music,
Get
yeah.
that Jeopardy music back in, yeah.
I got 3 there. Did you sign it?
Oh,
Please sign
maybe I
it.
did. A lot of things stuff seriously.
No kidding.
Roger, do you know if Grant Advisory is meeting tonight?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
No.
Do you have Bob's contact info? Maybe I shoot him an email or shoot him a text and just double check with them. I don't want to miss those guys if they're planning.
I'm 99% sure they're not.
Okay.
He's gonna bring information on that grant.
We're good this time.
Okay,
Yeah, Joe Allen received 2 votes,
who?
Joe Allen,
Got 2 votes?
Pat Bainbridge, 4 votes, and Chris Lopez, 3 votes.
Okay, so Joe Allen and Chris Lopez. No?
Nope.
Pat Bainbridge.
Pat Bainbridge. and Chris Lopez.
Excuse me, yeah.
Chris Lopez.
And Chris Lopez, correct? Okay. I'm gonna take just a second because I know everyone in the hallway couldn't hear what was going on there.
Watch that cord.
Yes.
Joe.
Hi, everyone. I know you couldn't hear everything we said. First of all, on behalf of the commissioners, we've all said it. Appreciate everyone for taking time out of their busy schedule on a serve. Unfortunately, there's 5 positions and there was 14 people. But from the bottom of my heart, we thank you for applying. And I'm going to read the I'm going to read one, the Parks, the Health Board, Pam Willis, going to be appointed to that board. And on the Parks and Recreation Committee, Pat Bainbridge and Chris Lopez.
Again, thank you, everyone. I want to make a special effort. Come on.
You haven't lifted it up, are you?
I'm not gonna tell you. Thank you, Gary. That was perfect.
Okay, next on our agenda is pension board. It's a 3-year term and appointment of 2. I'll entertain a motion to, or it won't be voted on, will be voted on, but need a motion to put John Moody and Tom Schaefer.
Now move to place the names presented for the pension plan board nominations.
Okay.
Support.
There's been a motion made to enter John Moody and Tom Schaefer and for the board of pension plan board. Do we do a ballot vote or just aye? Okay. So any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. So again, thank you to the people who've been put on these boards, Pam Willis on the health department and Chris Lopez and Patrick Banbridge on the Parks and Recreation and pension board, John Moody and Tom Schaefer.
Tony.
Next on our agenda is county commissioner appointments to boards, committees, and commissions and committees, non-county commission chair appoints. And next on our agenda today, item number 15, general resolution to authorize declaration of state emergency for the county of Sanilac.
Okay, so you'll all find a yellow copy in front of you. There was multiple copies provided by administration earlier in the week. The yellow one I drafted. I took what Tara had given me and kind of took made the scope extremely narrow. So this is something that we can do. I think it identifies the reason why it's happening in a non-inflammatory way. And it is an opportunity for us to provide all boards and municipalities within Sanilac County the ability to continue to use virtual tools until the date that's on this document is May 31st. So that would be, we could review it at that point.
Is there any questions, comments? I'll make a comment if I may. I think it would be crazy if we said we weren't affected by COVID, anyone in this room, especially the leaders of our country, the leaders of our state, our county leaders. The one thing that this COVID has done is everyone has a lot of opinions about this, and it's split families, it's split friendships, it's caused us to be in an area, and I'm not going to say just our county commissioners, but everybody that serves in our county and our state. It's put us in a whole different realm of thought pattern, how we operate each day, what side of the fence we stand on. And it's probably in my lifetime been I guess I'll use the word pandemic that I've never seen in my lifetime. I know 50 years ago, not 50 years ago, 100 years ago, there was other things that come by, pandemics in our country. But what I want to say in closing on my comment is we're all trying to do the right thing. And I know everyone has been affected by it. There's a number of moving parts that COVID has caused. Some agree with what's been done, a number disagree what's been done. And it's all new to us. And it's sad what it's done to our country, to our community, our state. And I know there's a strong debate and a strong divide between there. But what I want to say in closing of this resolution, we're trying to do the best we can for our community. And as I told Commissioner Wyatt earlier today, we're the two, I don't know if we're the two oldies, but we've served as commissioners for 2 or 3 terms. And when we took on the job and responsibility of a county commissioner, did we ever dream that we'd be faced with this? And I know there's been pressure at the state level, there's been pressure at the county level. we've been condemned for doing this or condemned for doing that on both sides of the fence. But I want everyone to understand, our job, when we were elected, this job was budget and policy. And based off the pandemic, a number of everything has come at us. And we're trying to sort things out as we go, try to make the right decisions, have good decision-making. And both Joe and I, Joel and I attend EOC, and I know the county health department and at the state level have done things to try to protect us. We, again, there's a great divide there in what we do and what we don't do. But I think based off this resolution, it's a good move on the part of our commissioners here to move this on at least for another couple months and till we get through this pandemic. And I know right now the levy statistics is, I think the test rate's around 38% in Santa Ana County. And also looking at public meetings and having virtual, I think it's the right thing to do and include all our county to be able to attend these meetings. So that's all I have to say. And John, I want to thank you and Tara. You've done I think a tremendous job putting this resolution together. It's to the point, it's factual, and gives good support to our community.
Okay, thank you. With that, I suppose I could read it, make the motion?
Sure.
Resolution to authorize the declaration of the state of emergency for the county of Santa Ana. Whereas on March 31st, 2021, statewide relief for public bodies relating to Open Meetings Act requirements has ended. And whereas COVID-19 continues to be a real threat to the health of Santa Ana County residents, as well as the public bodies that serve them. And whereas public bodies within Santa Ana County perform important work for their constituents and are the conduit between government and the people. The Santa Ana County Board of Commissioners advocates that all public entities make themselves and their boards as available as safely possible to the public during the COVID-19 pandemic. At their discretion, local public bodies may elect to use virtual meeting options to carry out their duties under this declaration to protect public health consistent with the Open Meetings Act as amended. Therefore, be it resolved that the Santa Ana County Board of Commissioners, in accordance with Section 10 of 1976 PA 390 as amended, hereby declares that a local state of emergency exists within our jurisdiction as of April 6, 2021, only to the extent required to allow public bodies to meet virtually. Be it further resolved that this declaration will expire on May 31st, 2021, unless otherwise extended by the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, there's been a motion made. Support. And your support, and there's been support. Now, any discussion? I know I got a little ahead of myself with discussion.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, any discussion on the resolution or comments on the resolution?
Well, it's going to allow the municipalities that we serve to have meetings as they see fit in regards to whether it's live or it's by Zoom or a combination thereof.
Well, I'd like to bring to your attention the document that we received from the esteemed Attorney General Dana Nessel. Previous documents have been presented to various boards over the years by the Attorney General. But just to summarize the Open Meeting Act in 1977, when the legislature enacted the Open Meeting Act, it promoted a new era in governmental accountability and fostered openness in government to enhance responsible decision-making. And at the core of the matter here is the issue of whether or not public bodies should be presentable to the public in a manner that facilitates the public holding them accountable. It was a contentious issue last October when the legislature went over what ended up being Public Act 254, and that is having a open meeting, or rather a open meetings variance that allowed meeting for any reason whatsoever remotely. It was a hotly contested issue. The legislature eventually agreed in a bipartisan manner to kick that forward and give it to the governor for approval to the extent that we now know as Public Act 254. It chose not, they extended it at the end of the year, last year, requiring communities to declare an emergency, to which most counties did. They chose not to extend that, this most recent termination of that extension on March 31st. They chose not to do so, I believe, in part by the pushback or the bringing to the forefront of communities such as Sanilac County that declared that they would like to see a little bit more local control used in policymaking and the application of areas where the citizens were concerned. If you recall back in February, our petition in Sanilac County urging for more local control in some way has come home to roost in this very moment. This declaration has been created by the board at the urging of our Director of Health, Brian Wilkie, who says specifically that Sanilac County is undergoing an increase in COVID risk greater than that of the rest of the state. And because of that, he's urged us to take upon this action to provide some relief to those communities who feel they need the expanse of space and opportunity that the virtual meeting clause allows. So this board, I believe, would be acting on the best interest of the Sanilac County residents at the request of the local authority with jurisdiction over this area. Exactly what we had hoped would happen in February. And I thank Director Wilkie for providing us with this information. Again, it can't be reiterated in any greater measure other than we in Sanilac County are taking measures because of the issue that we're currently undergoing that directly affect our Sanilac County residents in a way greater than the state of Michigan has done so. And that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Thank you, Commissioner White. I just add with a real short ending here on my part. As I stated, we have climbed to I think a 38% rate here in Sanilac County. I believe we're number 10 in the United States, and I believe we're number 1 in the state of Michigan per capita. And again, as I said, I know it's a highly divisive thought pattern, but I do know that in my life, in the past 2-3 weeks, we've had a friend pass away from COVID. He was healthy, he was a bull, he followed all the precautionary things. So COVID is real. And then 3 weeks ago, my best friend, him and his wife both contacted ACOVA. He ended up in Beaumont Hospital for a couple of weeks, very sick, was in ICU. So I appreciate both sides of the thought pattern. Some want to get rid of the restrictions we have, and some want us to still have restrictions. So I appreciate both sides, and but at the end of the day, we have to come together, decide what's best for our community over the next couple of months until this horrible pandemic subsides and goes away. So I thank all of you for your input. Again, I want to thank Commissioner Block and Tara for putting together this resolution. And I want to thank every one of you commissioners for your understanding where we're at. And we didn't ask to be in this, I said before, but us and other local officials, elected officials have been scrutinized over the last year, how we've handled this. So if there's any more discussion, questions, if not, I will ask for a vote on this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Oh, roll call. I'm sorry. Yep, sorry.
Commissioner Sarcella,
Yes.
Commissioner Ballard,
Yes.
Commissioner Black,
Yes.
Commissioner Wyatt,
Yes.
and Chairman Hugo.
Yes. Motion passed. Thank you, Commissioner Black.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Okay, next on our committee reports. I think we asked for that.
Yeah.
Okay, and unfinished business and on the new business?
I've got some committee reports, Gary.
Okay, go ahead.
Commissioner Kimberly. The MAC board that I belong to, it was mentioned by a representative about the resolution support for your terms. They're making, as we know, a push for that as well. And there's some discussion about the county state of emergencies, which we just passed the resolution for. There's another big issue out there with the growth center ordinances and how Matt can support that as well. And I've been given information from Edison that in Sanilac County, their applications for electrical services, 40% of those have been for growth centers. So our townships and villages are all looking at their own ordinances to possibly update this to see how they want to handle that in their areas moving forward. The Ag and Tourism Committee that I'm on, we had a presentation and one of the things they're talking about is the county excise tax, particularly the Michigan has money coming in that's not necessarily being used to help the communities with their tax base and their assistance with the tourism side of things. And then the MSU Extension Board that I sit on, the advisory board, we had a presentation from Eric Scassoni, who's a professor at MSU, and he had a really good insight into the Michigan economic outlook and how COVID's affected things and what we might be able to expect moving forward. And then the HDC board out of Carroll was finally able to meet in person. And because they don't do Zoom, they had to read all their minutes to bring everything up to date. Their bills are paid up to date, and they are going to be expanding their meal program because they saw an increased need for the folks to have meals in regards to COVID and them not getting out like they normally would. So that's my committee reports.
Okay. Anyone else on that?
Thank you, Commissioner Sarkella. The Broadband Committee received word from Ann Manning, who's the director at Disconnected Michigan. They're the organization that's been conducting the survey. That's going to help plot the direction in which we would like to go. It's been a lengthy process. Getting folks to participate in survey taking can be an arduous task. There's not enough gifts you can hand out to get people to do such a thing, but they've accomplished the minimum necessary to go forward with it. The analysis was completed. We'll be talking about it in a meeting in the upcoming week. Also on that meeting agenda will be discussion about funding, newly allocated funding for infrastructure, not to exempt broadband. That will be included as well. And I'll have a report for you by probably the first of next month.
I was thinking.
Parks will be meeting tonight. We have a lot of projects in the works. I'll be inundating the board with approval requests here in the next couple of weeks. DTF meets Monday.
Okay. In my commissioner report, I alluded to the fact it's actually maybe a committee report, but I just want to bring it up one more time. The county is having a tire scrap day, April 26th from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Sanilac County Fairgrounds. And then also tomorrow night at 5 o'clock, our committee is meeting with the city to get on the placement of our building on our property, new building.
What's the date?
Variant.
21st.
April 21st, tire day. You'll be there all by yourself getting tired.
I know, I got stuck in that April 26th, yeah. They'd be a little late, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you for making that correction.
There might be some late drop-offs, so you could probably take care of it.
I guess we don't want to send out the commission until April 26th, right? Yeah. All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, so Gary and I both sit on the planning commission board here at the county. And recently we drafted a letter, like a planning update that went out to, it should have been disseminated to all townships and villages in the county by now. And in that update, kind of piggybacking off what Commissioner Sarkella was talking about with the increased grow operations. So what we're trying to do with that is identify some of the main issues and then just simply a heads up to those municipalities. So included in that letter was letting them know that activity with grow operations and cannabis related business is on the increase. I talked to the drug task force myself and got the okay to list their phone number right on the letter. So those municipalities can use the DTF as a resource because they seem to be up to date on the latest information regarding that. We also covered the fact that there's an increase in solar and green energy stuff coming to the county altogether. So we identified that as something that they should be aware of. And then the other thing we did is I tried to put in there to advocate for some of the county services or things we have. So the county GIS system is super handy, making sure they know where that is on the county website. And the other thing that I tried to include in it that I think is actually gonna be helpful for everybody is to get those municipalities to go on the county website and look at the information related to their community. So if it's Buell Township, are those names, addresses, and email addresses accurate? And the letter requests for them to look at that, and if not, to send the proper information to Lori Cowley so that that information could be updated. So hopefully we'll see some buy-in with that, and the county website can become even more effective than what it really already is, so.
Thank you, Commissioner Block. Okay, moving on to new business, we will start with FA 059-21, approval of 2021 current claims.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the payment of current claims for 2021 identified on the accounts payable report dated March 30th, 2021 for the general bank account in the amount of $142,343.64.
We get a support on that?
Support.
Have a motion made and support. Any further questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. FA 06021, budget appropriations, amendments, appropriations, and transfers.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby approves following budget amendments and establishes the following accounts as listed below.
Any support in that? Okay, the motion made and support on FA 06121. Any further discussion? We may jump ahead. FA 06021. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Next is FA 061-21, authorization to establish engineering fee, county clerk.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby adopts the fingerprinting fee of $70 for the county clerk's office effective March 12th, 2021.
Support.
Okay, been a motion made and support for authorization to establish fingerprinting fee at $70. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. Next is FA 062-21, authorization to dispose of courthouse marble building and grounds.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the building and ground supervisor to dispose of courthouse marble at Albright Auction Service of Vassar, Michigan, or a similar venue that allows for pickup of material by purchaser further upon completion of the sale. The proceeds will be deposited into the building and grounds line item.
Support. There's been a motion made and support for authorization to dispose of courthouse marble from the buildings and ground. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. Next is FA 06321, authorization to award bid to purchase vehicles, Sheriff's Office.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes and awards Signature Ford of Owasso, Michigan, the bid for the purpose of purchasing 4 2021 Ford Police Interceptor utility all-wheel drive vehicles at a cost of $37,041 each, for a total cost not to exceed $148,164, with funding from the Sheriff's Office vehicle line item and commissary fund.
Support.
Okay, been a motion made and support for authorization to award bid to purchase vehicles for the Sheriff's Office. Any further discussion, comments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. Next is FA 064-21, authorization to dispose of vehicles from the Sheriff's Office.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the Sheriff's Office dispose of 2 2013 Dodge Chargers, VIN ending in 21452 and 21451, and mileage of 168,484 and 12382 through Albright Auction Service of Vassar. Further authorizes all proceeds from the sale be deposited into the sheriff's vehicle line item.
Support.
Okay, been a motion made and supported, authorization is, excuse me, to dispose vehicles. Any further discussion, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same, motion passed. Next is FA 065-21, authorization to pay 200 invoices, 24th Circuit Court.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes payments to the Institute of Continued Legal Education in the amount of $138.50 and to Thompson Reuters in the amount of $4,666.59 for a total cost not to exceed $4,805.09 with funding from the general fund contingency.
I'll entertain a support for that.
Support.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Okay, there's been a motion made and supported authorization to pay the 2020 invoices for the 21st Circuit Court. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same, motion passed. FA 066-21, authorization and award bid to purchase utility terrain vehicle parts commission.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the bid to Tri-County Equipment for the purchase of 2 John Deere Gators model HPX 615E at a cost of $11,500 each and for a total cost not to exceed $23,000 with funding from the Parks Millage non-pro-tunc 316.
Support.
Okay, and motion made for authorization to award bids to purchase utility terrain for the Parks Commission. Any further discussion, questions, comments?
Did we get those, Roger?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. Seeing none? No, we had one, sorry. Got a question. Got into an automatic here. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same, motion passed. FA 067-21, authorization to purchase flags and markers, Veterans Affairs.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the Veterans Affairs Director to purchase 39 gross flags from National Flag and Display Co. Incorporated at a cost of $3,481.92 and to purchase 345 markers from New England Flag Manufacturing Company at a cost of $1,466.25 for a total cost not to exceed $4,948.17 with funding from the Veterans Affairs budget.
Support. Oh.
Okay, been a motion made and support for authorization to purchase flags and markers for the Veterans Affairs. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same, motion passed. Last will be NFA 008-21. This was the addition that we put on our agenda today. It's on the pink copy in front of you.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby adopts an extension and reset paid sick leave hours to the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act policy as follows.
I think most of you have been updated on this. I don't think we need to read it in its entirety.
Support.
Okay. Okay, there's been a motion made for the adoption of an extension to the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act policy. And any discussion, comments, questions?
Documentation part referred to.
I'm not sure what that means either.
Is that an error?
I think
I
so.
don't have the pink copy. Is there something?
Yeah, it says at the top, NFA 008-21, adoption of an extension to the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act policy, and then it says monumentation.
That's not the motion.
That's, yeah, no, it's,
Oh, yeah, that shouldn't be in there. The reminder.
Yeah, I wondered the same thing, and I'm glad you asked the question,
It's not the
Commissioner.
motion. That's just the title.
Yeah, looks like we just didn't take that out. Sorry for the confusion.
Don't like some big words though.
well, yeah, it's not mentioned in it, it's just a title. It won't be in the title for the motion, all right?
No.
Yeah, okay.
All right, any further questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. Okay, that brings us next to our next agenda item. Public comments not pertaining to our agenda today, and I believe we have a couple. So if you want to, are you together? You two? If you want to step up to the podium, introduce yourself, and public comments is 3-minute limit.
Okay. Well, I'll try to be quick then. My name is Melissa, and this is Scott Engelbrandt. We live in Brown City. I know I've talked to Joel a couple of times about our property at 3344 Burns Line Road. I'm sure it's been discussed because I know Greg Alexander presented some things and also took it to the county attorney to resolve our matter. There's a couple of drains that need to be retired that were around our property. In addition to that, Benny Miller, the farmer behind our property, moved the county drain on the back of our property, causing it to collapse. This has been a 5-year process. We thought we finally made some ground this last year when Greg Alexander came up with some resolution with Benny Miller to agree to have the ditch moved back where it originally was, giving the easement back to the county, because at this point where he moved it, the county no longer has easement, other than through the middle of his property where he filled that in. It was just brought to our attention by the new drain commissioner that the Eagle organization wants more stuff done than I think maybe anticipated. It's kind of gray what exactly is going on. We signed documents along with our neighbors signing the attorney documents, as long with Benny Miller signing those documents that he agreed to pay for the new survey, to have the ditch moved back, that he admitted to wrongdoing, that he was given opportunities for 2 years now by Joe Allen and Eagle to fix the erosion. Now, all of a sudden, we were told that this was all gonna start in June. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's pulling the reins back again. So we're here just for clarification of why all of a sudden this is all being put back to square one again. We have been, like I said, this has been going on. Benny Miller has been given a lot of leeway to have Dawes Construction come out and fix the grade, to have grass planted, to have stone put in, all of which has now hindered our ability to do our hay field. I know that's not a typical crop for Sanilac County, but if you look, $8, $9 a bale for hay, we are in over $6,000 of hay we've had to buy this last winter, awaiting for this resolution so we can chisel plow our property without it collapsing this new Benny Miller drain that he moved. So we're frustrated because we just need some type of resolution and moving forward. And that every time there's a change of guard, they're like, we have no idea what's going on. We're gonna give Benny Miller another opportunity. We're done giving Mr. Miller any more opportunities. He has flat out said he doesn't want nothing to do with it. He wants it moved back, or he wants to purchase our property. We've even given the gentleman an opportunity to buy the 30 feet and give him easement off our property. He did not want to do that. We gave him a bid of what it would cost like an electrical company to go through. He's dragging his feet. Everyone's dragging their feet. We have given Benny Miller more than enough opportunity to resolve this. I'm begging the county to explain to us why we can't plow our property. Why a ditch to the east of us was cleaned out and dumped on our hay field and spread out 10 feet. And now we've got poisonous
I have to
plants.
stop you.
I know I'm over my 3 minutes. That's why
I
I'm saying it.
I want to give you a time if there's some questions here. I am somewhat aware of your situation. I've talked to Mr. Alexander before. It was my understanding, I could be wrong. I had thought that our current drain commissioner, possibly Commissioner Wyatt, had come and talked to you here
Mr. Wyatt calling.
Okay.
Chairman Heberly, Commissioner Sweet is on the phone, ready to answer any questions.
Oh, okay.
Provide any information to the board should they wish to do so.
Okay. So Doug, do you want to respond any to the concern?
Yep, I'll fill you in a little bit on what I know. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
So we had an agreement with Benny that he was going to be responsible for the cost of moving the drain back to its original route, depth, and course. He was working with an outside company, an engineering and surveying company, to do all the work and handle any permits needed. We were under the impression the drain in its location next to the Engelbrandts was not permitted and never was permitted. After taking bids on the project to move it back, we found out from Eagle that it was permitted where it was at. And if we were to move it again, we would need a permit. And they were going to possibly require mitigation of planting trees and bushes in the drain or drain right of way. And then we were also going to need a bond to assure that we were not going to destroy any of that vegetation for at least 5 years. And so we figured that was a cost that the county nor Mr. Miller could afford. And it's an unfortunate deal, but we thought we were going to leave it where it was at since it was permitted. I talked to Mr. Engelbrandt about possibly negotiating with Mr. Miller if he would compensate them to buy some sort of a 40 or 50-foot easement and possibly repair the erosion that was happening along their property. But if we were to do that, we would need an easement so we could come in there and traverse the drain and do the work needed. And that's kind of where it was left at.
Doug, can you speak to the failure on the part of Eagle and the transition between the two commissioners, the previous commissioner and yourself?
So like they said, this started in 2016. The drain commissioner that was here at the time is no longer here, and the Eagle representative that was on the case is no longer here at the time also. So it's two new people that we were trying to move forward and put it back to its original route and course. But after further investigation, we found out it was already permitted. They did make Mr. Miller get an after the fact permit and hit him with a fine. And I believe he also had a soil and erosion permit and an after the fact permit from the county and was hit with a after the fact permit fee also. He still does need to, if it's going to stay where it's at, he needs to give us a easement and put up a fence to keep his livestock out of the drain.
So this is Commissioner Heberlein. I'm speaking to both the Engelbrandts and you. So if I understand this correctly, this Betty Miller, is that her name?
Benny, and that's a he.
And they actually relocated the drain and used your property to relocate the drain, is that?
What he feels was our property line. He did it right on the property line, but because of the erosion, he's had to put rock to try to stop the erosion. That was the first attempt at resolution with Joe Allen and Benny Miller. I believe. Now I'm speaking for Joe Allen because Joe Allen has never come and spoke to us whatsoever about any of these things.
Joe's still on
I
line?
believe he is. So that being said, now because of the erosion, now all that rock is now trespassing. And I know that seems minor because it's a couple inches, but when you're farming and your chisel plow hits it or your hay vine hits it, it now costs you a lot of money because those rocks are now caving in onto your property line. He originally built that ditch and it was about 3 foot off of our property line. It is now probably about a foot into our property line. So I realize that you're saying that it wasn't, that it was okayed by Eagle. Megan Berry, who was the erosion person at Eagle at the time, came out and came up with this resolution of the grass. She's moved on to another position. However, that hasn't been approved. They've given him chance after chance to try to get it approved. And we've said, We will work with them, but we want it made right so that we can farm our property again. And we want to be able to farm it without Clydesdales going through the county drain or his drain, because it's not now owned by anybody but Benny Miller, because there's no easement. The drain hasn't been officially moved by the county. And there's no way my husband and I are gonna stand by and allow this to happen. We have been patient. I had talked to Joel well over, a year ago, sometime before the pandemic. I have been told, be careful what you wish for, because if you ask for this, we're gonna open up the retired drains. If you guys want to go and open up all the drains on my neighbor's property and everything else, have at it. But I will tell you, I'm not gonna stand by and be threatened anymore about what we're asking. And it's
worthy
Melissa.
of note that you're talking and referencing the previous drain commissioner. And the actions that that individual took and the promises made, if you can imagine, after what we've been through the last 2 years, when it began at the beginning of our last term, Gary, where we had issues, there's a lot of he said kind of activity. And he's no longer the drain commissioner. My impression is Doug is working as best as he possibly can to give you the property rights you deserve. It really sounds like the state dropped the ball, and certainly perhaps the previous commissioner. I feel for you. I'm really sorry about the position that you're in. I can't even understand how such a thing could be omitted. A permit could somehow get lost for a period of time. It initiates a contract to be signed by yourself and Benny, and then suddenly found again. But it validates and verifies what Benny had said all along, which was he was given verbal authorization if he did this, this, and this, to which he said he did after the fact, but nevertheless he did.
He did not do it. He is
Well,
not.
now the evidence seems to bear witness that he did, and the permit's been already completed and authorized.
He paid the fine. He paid the fine. He did not.
About the process, the way it happened.
You know, and I know the state is only as good as the scanned in documents they have that has Greg Alexander's signature on it, Rick Mitchell's signature on it, that claim the permit said that Benny got approval from 3 neighbors. We are his only neighbor that runs along there. So I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. There was a lot of balls dropped, and there was a lot of information out there that said the neighbors, being us, were contacted. No. Show us our signature. Show us where that contact was made. Show us any document, and I will back down. I am tired. This has been since 2016. So what do you guys claim that we're supposed to do? We're gonna fix Benny's ditch for him? I'm not giving him an easement. We offered him a 30, 40-foot easement, and he said no. He actually said right to my face, sell me your 10 acres back there, and that's what would make me happy. This man is playing games with everyone. And meanwhile, we can't farm our property.
Who's playing games? I missed.
Benny Miller,
That's your neighbor?
yes,
Okay.
and he's made promises to Megan Berry. He's made promise to Joe Allen, all of which went and talked to Benny Miller without ever coming talking to us. So you understand my frustration.
Yeah, so, and I'm trying to understand, I'm trying to help you. I think we all are. And I realize there's a lot of stuff went on before, and you didn't want to come in here and say, we're sorry. I get that. So what do you want done? And then I'm gonna give some.
I want that ditch moved back on the county easement, where the county easement is.
When I talked to Doug Sweet about a month ago, he said he had a completion date of June 10th. Everything was set to go. They surveyed the property, and then a few weeks later, Bill Wyatt called my wife, asked if we'd reconsider. We didn't reconsider. Doug stopped at my house, asked if we would reconsider trying to fix that drain, and I told him then, I'll talk to my wife, but I can tell you right now, the answer is that ditch. The only answer we're gonna accept is that ditch moving back to the original location. 5 years we've been messing with it, we're done messing with it.
Okay, I'm not trying to be Judge Wapner here, okay? But I'm just trying to understand it.
No, I understand. That's why I said there's a lot of information, a lot of things that have happened, and a lot of passing of the guards that has occurred. What I do know is that your county attorney did draw up several documents, which all of us signed, and all of us agreed to, and that was the county ditch would be moved back to where the easement was.
And the old drains would be retired from years ago.
So Commissioner Sweet, you're saying that Eagle stopped that from moving the ditch back? Is that a correct statement?
They did not stop us. They just said it is permitted in its location right now. If we were to move it back to the original location, we would need a Eagle permit, mitigation, and a bond before we moved it back. And that would either be the property owner would be responsible for that, or the drainage district would be responsible for that.
Property owner being Ms. Miller?
Mr. Miller, correct.
Mr. Miller, yeah.
And that's what's in the legal document that your county attorney drew up. Knowing that that the county would have to do the survey, would have to pull the permits, and that the bids would be taken. I believe it was a company out of Port Huron that won the bid, that they would come as soon as the frost was out of the ground and they would begin work. All the work started up until about, I don't know, a month ago. So
How long is
it's a
this
matter
ditch?
of,
Is this a half mile, quarter mile?
960 feet.
560 foot. You have an estimate cost on that, Doug? And I know I'm putting you on the spot here. You're probably not prepared to answer that question, but is there any type of costs that you know? No, do you know what probable cost would be associated with moving that drain back?
So we took estimates because we were prepared to have it moved back. And I believe the lowest estimate was $15,000 to move it back. So Mr. Miller was going to be responsible for paying for that, as well as paying to have the survey and everything else done.
Did he sign that in writing? He would pay for it?
Yes, he did.
sure did.
You know, I'm looking from cloud level down here. I would think if that's a legal document, he signed his name. I don't understand why they can't move forward with that, but.
We don't know why.
If it's a matter of the Eagle wants trees and everything else, if there's something we can sign off on that, we don't want trees put in the back of our property and everything else. We'll sign off, but that's the expense.
Well, Doug, isn't it an issue whereby the contract would be enforced to the tune of the dollar amount that Benny Miller agreed to, that all the parties agreed to, and anything over that would be assessed to the drainage district, which would be all your neighbors associated with that drainage district, and the contention being that it's a completely unfair tax of sorts that's assessed to your neighbors. We understand you were a victim, but now you've expanded the victim group to include the surrounding drainage district, which will now be assessed.
Well, seeing as government finances most of farms, why not just take away some of these farm stations?
Sir, would you like a time for public comment?
So that being said, I understand that. That's what you guys have come back to us is, boy, that's not very neighborly. I get that. This wasn't very neighborly. So that being said, that east ditch that you guys cleared out and dumped onto our property is caused because of that moving of the ditch, because you guys had the wrong flow of that ditch. Now that ditch floods, we have all sorts of problems. You know this, I walked you back there and showed you where it's all flooding in the back corner, and washed away the corner and everything. So, you know, so this is really because of this ditch that Benny Miller moved has caused erosion on the east side of our property, has caused more flooding. And I know when Greg came out, he said, oh, well, yeah, we should have cleaned out the rest of this back side of the property that runs the north side all the way down to Shepherd because of what Benny Miller did. So this is causing many repercussions over this 5-year period of everybody dragging their feet. This is.
All right, well, let's wrap this up. Commissioner Sweet and Drain Commissioner Sweet and Commissioner Wyatt and possibly myself, can we meet with these people at another time and see if, it just seems to me if Mr. Miller has signed a legal document there shouldn't be any question, but I don't know the ramifications of it, Doug. I really don't, the legalities of it, but it seems like if this Mr. Miller signed a document, he's paying for it, I don't understand why it got held up. So, and I don't know the whole story. I'm getting fed through a 4-inch water hose right now. What's going on? So if I can defer this to back to you and to Commissioner White, and I'll be glad to be in that meeting or go out and see it and try to help out. But somehow we got to move forward to it. And Doug, I know you're trying to do the right thing. I do, and you've been doing some great work. And Commissioner Wyatt has tried, but it looks like we're at a standstill. So I appreciate your concern. I just want you to understand the Drain Commission is a Drain Commission, and us as commissioners don't really have any oversight over top of the Drain Commission. But now we know your issue. All right.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you
So
very
will we
much.
be contacted in regards to this meeting?
Doug, do you want to set that meeting up, or how do you want to handle that?
Yes,
That's really-
we can set up a meeting anytime. The only thing I will tell you is why it got stalled is because we're anticipating a cost of roughly around $100,000 or over. So Mr. Miller did agree to pay $22,000 to $25,000. He did not agree to pay $100,000+. That's where we're at a stalemate right there.
Oh, okay. Good.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Sweet, this is Commissioner Block. Is this permit issue with Eagle, is that what's driving that cost up?
You got it.
Okay.
Do we need them involved?
We can get them involved. I mean, we can set a meeting time.
Involved. The permit's $2,000. I don't know where you're getting $100,000.
Plus the trees and all the beautification stuff and everything else. It's farmland. We don't
Farmland.
need to do that. We've already talked to Brian, right? Rudolph and
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to stop.
Can I ask a question? Hey, Doug, this is Roger. Are you aware of any documents that these people signed?
The only thing I can think of is possibly, I know the right of ways, even beside to the east of their property, I believe, the right of ways were messed up. So I believe they signed new right of ways on what was there to the north and south drain. Because I believe the old drain was running through somebody's garage, or is what the GIS showed it as.
But nothing pertaining to moving this drainage ditch.
No, I don't think there was anything that I've come across yet about moving the drain. We'll look again, but I have not come across it yet. Did you need a copy?
Reach out to the Engelbrandt and we'll get time and place set up, and we'll try to attack this again.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Heberling?
Yes.
This is Todd. I just like to take a minute and thank the commissioners for approving that declaration that you did here just a little ago. As far as the Virtual Meetings Act, the EOC group will, I'm sure, thanks you for doing that. It helps prepare us to move forward to try to get this pandemic behind us. And this group has worked very closely together, of which Mr. Commissioner Wyatt's been part of, and you are now too. And it's just a great thing that you did that. So thank you from the committee.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Todd.
Are you Mr. Ball?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to school with your grandson, I think.
Pardon me?
Your grandson, your nephew, I went to school with. And so I got a question about the obstruction of justice charges in Santa County. There is 245 charges, obstruction of justice charges in Santa County, 2019 alone. This is from the police report, or police thing. The next leading crime is non-aggravated assault. So there's more people covering up crimes than the next leading crime. So I'm just curious, where does that corruption lie? Prosecutor's office, judicial system here? Where does it start?
Are you referring to the school teacher issue?
No, I'm talking about the 245 obstruction of justice charges in the SantaCounty.net 2019 police annual report. You want to see it?
No, I'm just trying to understand what you're saying. Bear with me.
Where's all this
You're saying there's obstruction of justice, 200 cases in Santa County?
Yeah, there's 245 right here in the annual report of 2019 of the Stanley County Sheriff.
And you want to know why it's being covered up?
No, I'm just curious, why is there that many cases? There's more cases, obstruction of justice than aggravated assault, substance abuse, assault.
Where do we get that information from Brenda
It's public
Sanford?
knowledge.
If it's the sheriff's office
Dude,
report,
take-
you probably need to contact the sheriff's office. I don't know
You
that
can
we would,
Google simple search.
I don't know that we'd have the
Simple Google.
details behind
Yeah,
it.
I'll take a look at it. What's that?
It's the sheriff's department annual report.
Yep.
Okay.
2025 isn't released, we're still early. So right here, you see that, that's 202,
Mhm.
that is non-aggravated assault. Right here, 245, obstruction of justice. There's also 2 cases of people flying.
Have you contacted our sheriff department or
I'm
sheriff?
just curious as to why it's been going on.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now, Austin, is that your name, Austin?
Yep.
I don't think there's anybody in this room prepared, we're not part of that to answer, but I would ask you to reach out to our sheriff, Paul Rich.
Well, I've reached out to many police officers and a lot of them point me toward the plea deals because 95 to 98% of all court cases get settled before they ever enter a court case. So typically, how many of these were settlements?
Yeah,
That's a good
I'm not a
question.
law enforcement
Just goes
officer.
to show how corrupt our county is.
John, do you have any input?
These sound like questions for Brenda Sanford or Sheriff Rich.
Well, I mean, Brenda, I could pull up non-disclosure agreements about her and her own troubles. So I mean, is she somebody to question about obstruction of justice?
Well, she's a duly elected official in this county, so I mean, if you want to have a
Joint
conversation.
commissioner isn't elected, so I figured that would have got brought up in the last one. He's appointed by the joint commissioners. Or by the commissioners.
I guess, Austin, what I would, go ahead.
You're suggesting the drain commissioner is appointed by us?
He is appointed.
No, he's not.
No,
He's
he's
elected.
elected.
He's elected? Okay, good deal. Good deal. That's what I like to hear.
I guess, Austin, what I would tell you, what I would suggest, I don't want to tell you what to do. You do what you want. I would
I'm
suggest,
looking for.
yeah, I would ask you to reach out to Brenda Sanford. And she's very available, good person to work with. And she's up on the 3rd floor. In fact, probably if you went up there right now and you have to approach the window there to get authorization to get in, but she would probably talk to you. I can honestly say, and we're not trying to not answer your question, we don't know. It's not something even in our field we deal with. We deal with budget and policy,
Well, budget, the county budget has been balanced for the last 10, 15 years. When was the last time we had
We have an audit every year.
Every year.
Alrighty. So good, appreciate it.
Well, thank you for coming in and
I just hope we can clean this county up.
yeah, I strongly.
There's a school teacher harassing 8th grade girls. I'm sure you all know about that already. I'll be at that school board meeting as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for taking interest in our county
What's funny
government.
is, somebody's brother is the leader of the Underground Railroad for sexual assault victims, right? I have him in his own words saying that he won't do anything because he's friends with them.
Who wouldn't do anything?
Somebody's brother, the leader of the Underground Sexual Assault Victims. He's a leader. I have him in his own words saying that he won't do anything. This man was sexually harassing 8th grade women. Would you like your daughters in that school? Yes or no?
Well, again, Austin, we don't have the answer. Your time's up, okay?
Would you let your daughter in the school? Yes or no?
What's that?
Would you like your daughter in the school who, in a police report, he was sexually harassing girls all the way back to 8th grade? Would you want your daughter or granddaughter or niece or nephew in that school with that man?
No, are you referring to the school teacher?
Well, yeah, now I am.
Okay, all right. But your time is up. You have 3 minutes, okay? That's our rule.
Another
So
county commissioner-
time out,
Thank you for
time out.
We appreciate it.
So
Yep.
everything I said,
Time out.
you guys know the county commissioner's son is
Yep.
the superintendent over there? Isn't that a big problem?
Again, we don't have jurisdiction over that. I'm not sure all the things you're talking about, but let's start with Brenda Sanford.
Police report, it's on the Sand Lake Sentinel.
Okay, thank you.
7 or 8 pages long, sexually harassing 8th grade girls. Is now the gym teacher and varsity or JV coach.
Austin, your time is up, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. You have one.
Time is up. Yep,
Thank you for deleting me on Facebook for simple math. I will see you all the 13th. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Moving on, there's no closed session today, and at this time, I'm going to ask for adjournment. Support. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?